Hello, fellow Wolverines, and welcome back to a new semester of Wolf TV SportsCenter. My name is Connor Woolley.
And I'm Zach Warshaw.
In this week's episode, we'll break down football's Citrus Bowl loss to Texas, men's and women's basketball's fantastic runs over winter break, hockey series against Michigan State and Notre Dame, and volleyball's matches against Xavier and Pitt.
The Wolverines football team were able to jump out to an early lead on New Year's Eve, and that's where good things ended, as they were unable to keep the momentum, dropping the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl to Texas, 41-27 in Orlando. Bryce Underwood threw two first-half touchdown passes to Andrew Marsh and Kendrick Bell, and later added a 5-yard rushing touchdown to give Michigan a 27-24 lead in the fourth. But 3 interceptions and a defensive breakdown swung the game in Texas's favor, as Arch Manning responded with 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns of his own. Underwood finished with a $12 million stat line of 23 for 42 for 199 yards with 2 touchdowns and 3 picks. Bryson Kuzdal and Underwood combined for 174 rushing yards, and Michigan won the time of possession, 33 minutes to their 26, but Texas's 456 total yards and 17 fourth quarter points proved too much to overcome.
Michigan women's basketball carried serious momentum out of winter break, going 6-1 over the stretch, with their lone setback coming against Washington on New Year's Day to ring in 2026, and the Wolverines have looked sharper with each game since returning to conference play. The defense has continued to set the tone, while the offense has spread production across the lineup, making Michigan one of the most balanced teams in the country heading into the heart of January. That balance was on full display in a dominant road win at Penn State on January 8th, where Michigan led by more than 40 at its peak and reached the century mark for the 5th time this season. The Wolverines blew the game open early with an overwhelming first quarter run fueled by pressure defense and transitioning scoring, forcing turnovers in waves and never letting Penn State settle in. Mila Holloway led 5 players in double figures with 18 points, while Tayala Delfas added 17 points off the bench. Mackenzie Mathurin chipped in 15 points in reserve minutes, giving Michigan a consistent scoring punch throughout the rotation. Brooke Quarles-Daniels controlled the paint with 13 points and 12 rebounds, anchoring the interior, and Olivia Olson filled the stat sheet with 13 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. Michigan's strong shooting from deep and steady work at the free throw line turned defensive stops into quick separation, sealing a wire-to-wire statement win.
Back home in Chrysler on January 11th, Michigan followed that performance with another emphatic victory over Wisconsin, again jumping out early and never looking back. The Wolverines opened the afternoon with a long scoreless stretch for the Badgers, building a massive first quarter cushion and carrying it through halftime behind Olivia Olson's 21 points and 6 rebounds. Tayala Delfas added a double-double with 18 points and 10 rebounds, while Mila Holloway matched her scoring output with 18 points to go along with 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Brooke Quarles-Daniels reached the 1,000-point mark for her career while contributing across the board with 8 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. Kendall Dudley provided energy off the bench with 11 points and 8 rebounds as Michigan dominated the glass and converted second-chance opportunities all afternoon. With depth in defense and confidence all clicking at once, the Wolverines look firmly in rhythm as conference play rolls on. Michigan women's basketball will continue their 2-game homestand on Thursday, January 15th, hosting Illinois in Chrysler at 7 p.m.
This past Friday, the men's and women's swim and dive team took on the Indiana Hoosiers home at Canham Natatorium. The men lost 113-187, and the women squeaked out with a victory with a score of 156-146. And a huge shout out to the new school record holder in the 200-yard butterfly, Hannah Ballard. Ballard set a new school record with a time of 1:50.72. Not only was this a school record, this was also a Big Ten record. This time also now ranks Ballard number 1 in the nation. Huge congratulations to Hannah. Keep a lookout as both teams take on stinky Ohio State on Saturday, January 17th. Good luck to both teams. Over the break, the Michigan volleyball team kicked off their postseason run with a sweep against Xavier on Friday, December 5th. Allison Jacobs tallied 19 kills on a .326 hitting percentage. Serena Niambio hit a .583 with 8 kills on 12 swings. And Maddie Kukrin became the 5th Wolverine in program history to tally 4 or more aces in an NCAA tournament match. Then, on Saturday, December 6th, the Wolverines faced off against top-seeded number 4 Pittsburgh in the second round of tournament play. Unfortunately, Michigan fell in straight sets, but not without a fight, with Ella Demetrician tallying 8 kills, a match-leading 11 digs from Maddie Kukrin, and double-digit assists tallied by both Morgan Burke and Camille Edwards. At the season end, the Wolverines went 22-11 on the season and 11-9 in the Big Ten, improving from 8-12 in the 2024 season by 4 in-conference wins.
Michigan hockey has played 2 Big Ten series since our last episode. Before the break, the Wolverines split the series with Michigan State, winning 3-0 in East Lansing before dropping the second game 3-1 in Ann Arbor. This past weekend, Michigan welcomed Notre Dame into town for a 2-game series on January 9th and 10th at Yost Arena. Michigan took the first game 5-2, with Nick Moldenhauer leading the charge off a goal and an assist, and multiple other Wolverines also appearing on the stat sheet. The second game was much more intense. Michigan won the game 7-5 to complete the season sweep of the Fighting Irish, but not before tempers flared, with multiple fights breaking out, resulting in a combined 173 penalty minutes between both squads and 10 ejections in the third period alone. See ya. The main focus of the game, however, was the leg injury to star goaltender Jack Ivankovic, who left the game in the second period unable to put any weight on his left leg after a collision with Irish center Danny Nelson. Head coach Brandon Naurato said after the game that as a result of the injury, Ivankovic is going to be out for a long time. Michigan stayed at number 1 in the rankings and now turns to freshman goaltender Stephen Peck for the foreseeable future as the Wolverines travel to Minneapolis to take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers this weekend, January 16th and 17th.
Well, the perfect season for the men's basketball team ended on Saturday, January 10th, as the Wolverines fell 89-91 to the Wisconsin Badgers. In a blowout in Chrysler, the back-and-forth contest featured 10 different lead changes and ultimately came down to 3-point shooting. Michigan went just 8 for 25 from behind the arc, whereas the Badgers sank almost half of their attempts, going 15 for 33. The Wolverines started the game out strong, using back-to-back threes from freshman Trey McKinney and stellar post play from sophomore Morez Johnson Jr., who scored 4 straight baskets to extend the lead to 14 with 8 minutes left to play in the first. However, Wisconsin slowly closed the gap, pulling within 1 point to make the score 37-38 going into the break.
In the second half, the close contest only continued. Wisconsin quickly hit 5 threes and pushed Michigan into its largest home deficit of the season at 5 points. Michigan's second half scoring was led by junior guard Elliot Cadeau, who scored 12 out of Michigan's first 18 second half points and tied the game back up at 65 at 13-17 left in the second half. He ended the day with a team-high 19 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. 5 second-half lead changes led to Michigan down 2 in the final minute when a potential game-tying putback from sophomore center Ade Mara was waved off for goaltending. With that bucket off the scoreboard, the clock ran out for the Wolverines as final 3-point attempt to force overtime did not fall. Overall, this loss snapped Michigan's best start to the season since 2018, the last time they started the year with 14 wins. Wisconsin became the first opponent since UCLA in 2016 to make 15 or more three-pointers in a game against Michigan. Looking ahead, the Wolverines head to the Pacific Northwest this weekend, playing Washington and Seattle at 10:30 Eastern on Wednesday, the 14th, with coverage on the Big Ten Network. Okay, so obviously a lot happened over the break. The most devastating to me is the loss of Jack Ivankovic, just because he has been such a brick wall in net. He's arguably the whole reason why we're number 1. He just won bronze for Canada in the World Juniors. Him being out, quote, for a very long time is not good.
You never like that phrasing. Whenever a coach says that, it usually means the worst. Maybe by a miracle he's back for the last couple games of the season for a deep playoff run. But
it'll be interesting to see how Stephen Peck holds up again, since it's been so solid. He's played virtually not at all. And so it's looked like a number 1 team all year. So confident, like looking towards the potential Frozen Four, not to jump the gun. It'll be interesting to see how long they can keep this up and if the team rallies around Peck now that they need to find something else to fight for, basically.
Yeah, it's devastating, but I think the team's got a lot of depth. We got a lot of great players. I think we're still a decent bit ahead of the competition. I'm pretty optimistic, but I think some of those games we'll have to see how those pieces fall together.
That'll be all for this week's episode of Wolf TV SportsCenter. I'm Zach Warshaw.
And I'm Connor Woolley.
Who's got it better than us?
Nobody.